Laura Bloomberg, president of Cleveland State University, and it is my distinct honor to welcome all of you here today. And I know for a fact the man we're here to honor today would be delighted to see all of you together. And honest to goodness, I got more good advice from that man than I could ever possibly share with all of you. And it always stands out to me that he took my calls. Whenever I called, he took my calls. He was sick, he was in pain, he was tired, he was in hospice, and he took my calls and answered my questions and pushed back and challenged me to think harder or deeper or longer about key issues, and I am so grateful for that. To the family, for all of us who knew Michael in his professional capacity, I extend on our collective behalfs huge gratitude that you shared him with the world of higher education, with the world of ideas, with the world of the academy, because I believe it comes at a bit of a cost to Michael, the family man, but I believe he had the heart for both, and we are so grateful for what he contributed.
When he first came around campus, he went around and he gave talks to introduce himself and to get to know some of the various student groups and faculty groups. And my role was to escort him around and introduce him to each audience. Those talks were audacious and they were inspiring. I doubt that students had ever before heard someone in a position of academic authority describe the purpose of the university to them and tell them what they were supposed to be doing and what they were doing at the university.
I'll always remember all the impact that he had on all of us, on this community, in this university. I'll always remember his wisdom and smarts. I will always remember his wit and humor. I will always remember his support and mentorship. And of course, I will always remember his spirit and dedication to this university and the students he loved.
You will continue to live. You will live through your family, your friends, and all of us who were blessed to know you and to love you. We promise to remember your lessons, continue to rely on your wisdom, and strive to live up to your legacy. You will live through the countless lives you've changed. You will live through those who you never met you, but benefit from your life's mission. Michael, it's appropriate that we are here today in this student center, a building that you built. Outside of this room and throughout our campus, in the Kent State campus, there are thousands of students whose lives will be changed and enriched because of you and what you built. Your memory will live on in them. Like a true visionary, he wanted so much more for our university, for our city, and especially for our students. He knew that Cleveland State was truly transforming lives. He could see it, and he wanted others to see it too. And he made it happen in both big ways and small.
Michael Schwartz, as the president of two great public universities in Northeast Ohio, never abandoned a passionate belief in the transformative power of higher education. And until the end of his life, he promoted learning for learning's sake. He promoted access. He promoted opportunity. So I say, long live Cleveland State University, and long live Kent State University. Long live our state's public universities, community colleges, and our great private colleges. Long live learning for the sake of learning, and long live giving one's time to make things better for others. This is Michael Schwartz's world, and we all benefit from living in it.
My father's pre-college life did not point to an academic career. His early life in Chicago was not easy. My father described himself, this is pre-college, described himself as an indifferent C student. And he received a lot of help. He received help in particular from a law professor at University of Illinois named Reuben Cohen, who was a distant uncle. Professor Cohen changed his life. He flipped a switch, and from that moment on, deep breath. From that moment on, my father dedicated himself to changing lives at universities. He earned 3 degrees from the University of Illinois: a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree from the Institute of Labor and Industrial Relations, and a PhD in sociology with an emphasis in social psychology. He published more than 70 books and articles in his career, and he loved teaching statistics so much that he even found time to teach statistics while provost at Kent. But the students quickly realized how lucky they were. He was a great teacher, and I know. In graduate school, when I was dealing with my own graduate statistics and confused, I got some late night tutoring from him while he was president at Kent State. He would pick up that phone late at night and walk me through it. In 1971, while chair of the sociology department at Florida Atlantic University, he won a Distinguished Teacher Award and was later promoted to dean. Then, in 1976, he was appointed Vice President of Graduate Studies and Research at Kent State. Our family moved from sunny South Florida to balmy Northeast Ohio. We never let him live that down. Kent State became a family affair. I remember him saying to me that he wanted Kent State to be a university that he would be proud to send his own kids to. And he accomplished that. My sisters and I all have degrees from Kent State. Monica has 2. He handed us our diplomas. Really special. Random students would walk up to me and say, "Are you Ken Schwartz, and is your father President Schwartz?" I would smile. I would say yes. The eye roll is in my head, usually. And they would say, without exception, "I just want you to know that I think he's doing a great job." That's a pretty special experience. My father was the person who was asked by the university to negotiate with students who took over buildings on campus during Vietnam War protests. He successfully de-escalated those situations and avoided violence, returning the university to a late 1960s version of peace and civility. Several years later, in 1977, while he was vice president and interim president at Kent State, protests unfortunately erupted on campus over the construction of a building near where some students were shot on May 4th, 1970. He successfully navigated protesters, politicians, courts, and the community. But this experience launched him on a personal mission of education and healing that, with the help of many others, ultimately led to the establishment of the May 4th Memorial, dedicated to a sad American tragedy. A few weeks before my father died, he and I were together in his home having the kind of conversation you might expect when death's actually, on the doorstep, pretty close. And he was, as you might imagine, bursting with pride in his family, talking about how much he loved his friends, how much he loved the universities. We were laughing, we were crying, and at one point he paused. His jaw tightened a little, his lips were pressed together, and I knew we were going to have one of those serious conversations, because they were pressed together in that Michael Schwartz, "I'm not happy about something" kind of look. Some of you may know it. I certainly did. He shook his head and said, "There's still too much meanness, too much fear, too much bullying and hatred toward the color of people's skin, where they were born, their gender, who and how they may choose to love, or how they may or may not worship a higher power." He said he was deeply troubled about so-called leaders who stoke fear, lie, and legitimize hate, usually for their own narcissistic self-promotion, while they undermine our society and our democracy. He said it reminded him of the 1930s and 40s. My father, the student, professor, peacemaker, and lifelong educator, wondered, did we fail, are we failing? My father had a lot of wisdom, and always a lot of positivity and hope. And he looked at me, and he smiled, and he turned on that inspirational, empathetic teacher mode that we all know, and he said, "Ken, what's happening now will pass. It will take a lot of hard work by a lot of strong people, but the long arc of history bends inevitably to the left and toward enlightenment, liberty, and justice." He proudly said that universities like Kent State and Cleveland State will drive that arc because a university is the only place in our society where we search for the many truths that may exist. I say celebrating Michael Schwartz's life means acting to ensure the freedom to teach, research, and study in search of the many truths that may exist. It's to combat meanness with kindness and education, just the way he did. It's to bring people together to celebrate our diversity and our differences. When any of you do this, when we do this, I am certain Michael Schwartz is somewhere in the universe. He's coaching a Little League game, or he's casting a fly fishing pole into those cosmic waters, and he's smiling because another life has been changed.